Hello guys, welcome to Clarity for Sure and welcome to the Thursday dose of fruit crops in the Agriclarity Concept Clarity lecture series. So today we are going to deal with the physiological disorders of fruit crops. So without further ado, let's start with this. So what do you mean by physiological disorders? Okay, in this we are going to see what is the difference between physiological disorders and diseases. So when you talk about physiological disorders, these are non-pathogenic or non-infectious abnormalities in the plants, like hormonal imbalances or environmental factors leads to certain disorders in the plants which affects the normal growth and development of the plant or the plant part or the fruits. So then we'll call that as physiological disorders. So what is the difference between physiological disorders and diseases? So diseases are caused by pathogens like fungus, bacteria, viruses. There may be some insects or there may be some pests who are the vectors for these pathogens like fungus, bacteria, and viruses, and they may attack the crop and cause the diseases. Okay, so it is because of the spread of that pathogen that the plant is affected by the particular disease. But in case of disorder or physiological disorder, to be very particular, it mainly occurs due to non-pathogenic factors like environmental factors. Then we have deficiency or toxicity of nutrients and moisture, temperature abnormalities, right? So that is the physiological disorders. Okay, so I hope that's clear now what is physiological disorder and what is disease. So what is the basic difference between disorders and disease? It should be clear by now. So next, let us talk about the physiological disorders of some of the important fruit crops. Here we're going to see about those physiological disorders which have a very high probability of appearing in the examinations like IBPS A4 or NABARD Grade A 2025. The first we'll talk about mango. In the mango, the first disorder is your black tip. So as you can see in the picture, that this is the tip of the fruit turns into black in color. Okay, so here you see the fruits are affected at the marble stage. So this is important that first the fruits are affected in the marble stage and the tissues at the distal end. This is the distal end, isn't it? This is the distal end of the fruit. So here also you can say the distal end of the fruit. This portion where the fruit is attached to the stalk, it's normal, right? But the distal end of the fruit is where this black color develops. So first there is characteristic yellowing, then the color intensifies to become brown and ultimately turns this black in color. Now here, when it turns black in color, so it will reduce the marketability of the fruit. Okay, again, very important point, you see, the sherry variety is most susceptible to this black tip. Okay, so which variety of mango is most susceptible to black tip? So that is it, the sherry variety. Now, what are the causes? First and foremost cause is the gases like carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, ethylene, etc., which makes up the fumes of the brickle are responsible for black tip. So obviously you have to remember what? That when you talk about black tip, first that the tissues in the distal end, right, in the distal end turns black in color. Second thing is what? That the sherry variety is the most susceptible to, you can say, black tip. The third thing is what? That brickles. Okay. Any mango orchard which is planted near to the brickles, they are mostly affected by this particular disease. Why? Because of the gases like carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and ethylene. So what we'll go for remedy? We'll go for, since it is, the problem is that when we plant the mango plants in this, near to the brickles, so we'll have to maintain that 5 to 6 kilometers away from the brickles. Okay, we'll maintain the mango plantations 5 to 6 kilometers away from the brickles. We'll plant the trees in north-south direction, and even spraying of borax 1% helps in preventing this disorder. Okay. So next up, the next disorder in case of mango is mango malformation. Now, if you see here, in case of mango, this is the normal inflorescence of mango. Okay, so this is the rachis you can see and the panicle. Okay, you know the mango inflorescence is what? Mango inflorescence is known as panicle. Type of inflorescence in mango is panicle, and this is the typical normal panicle of mango. Okay, so here you can see that there is no leaves. Okay, that is one very important thing, that in case of mango inflorescence, in the inflorescence part you will not find any sort of leaf. Okay, in the normal inflorescence there is no leaf, but if you see, these are what? These are your malformed inflorescence. Okay, you can see there is a fusion of leaves and this one, flowers. Okay, here also you can see some leaflet like structures are developed, isn't it? Small leaf like structures are developed. Okay, here this whole inflorescence is clubbed, right? You can see the spacing in this thing, in the rachis, in the branched panicles, but here you can see it is all clubbed together. There are these leafy structures. Okay, so leafy structures in mango inflorescence is a big no. Okay, normally you will never find leafy structure. That means whenever you will find leafy structure in the inflorescence, it is mango malformation. Okay, so here you see the secondary and main rachis is short and thick, right? Here you can see the rachis, the main, this is the main rachis. Okay, this is the main rachis, these are the branched rachis. These are all slender and long. But here you can see, you cannot see exactly this one, you see. One second. Yeah. So here you can see that this is the main rachis. It is so thick, isn't it? And if you see here, there is no differentiation in the main rachis or the branched rachis. And in here also, isn't it? And there is the presence of what? There is the presence of leafy structures in the plant. Okay. Then next you see that in case of mango malformation, what is the reason of mango malformation? Okay. So the reason, if you see, the exact cause of this disorder is yet to be established, but it is thought that cultural mix of cultural, nutritional, physiological, environmental, even sometimes genetical factors are also considered to be responsible for this malady. Okay. And these inflorescence, another thing, very typical thing is that these inflorescence, they remain intact in the plant for a very long time. Okay, they remain intact. So what is the remedy? We can spray Planofix 200 ppm in the first week of October. That is followed by de-blossoming of the buds. Okay, whenever such kind of buds will appear, we'll have to de-blossom it. And this is in the first week of October. We'll go for spraying of Planofix. Okay, this is for your mango malformation. So two things you can remember: whenever there is leafy structure in the inflorescence of mango, then it is what? Mango malformation. And another thing is what? That whenever you'll see that the rachis, there is no difference, okay, between the branched rachis and the main rachis, and the rachis is very short and thick, then it is mango malformation, and it remains intact in the tree for quite a long time. Now, why have I described each of the symptoms here? Because sometimes in IBPS, they will put up the symptom, okay, and then they will ask that which disorder in this fruit crop is being described here. So you will have to identify the disorder. Therefore, I have kept this description, okay, so that you're never confused in the exam. Now, the next that we will see is alternate bearing. Okay, alternate bearing, if you see in case of mango, the most typical feature in alternate bearing is that 1 year it will bear fruits, a very heavy crop. Okay, so that whenever, in whichever year it bears a heavy crop, that particular year is known as what? On year. And in the next year, there will be little or no fruits. So that particular year would be known as on year. So whenever you will see in case of any disorder, if you see in case of disorder of mango, there is this term on and off year, then immediately you'll have to understand that it is alternate bearing. Okay. Again, here exact cause, genetical is very important factor. Okay. Whichever varieties are genetically alternate bearers, they will exhibit this disorder. Okay. Now, another very important thing is that all the North Indian varieties, okay, I mean, most of the North Indian varieties like Lengra, Chausa, the Sherry, these are all what? Alternate bearers. And usually it is assumed that most of the South Indian varieties, okay, South Indian varieties are your regular bearers, and most of the South Indian varieties are also what? They are polyembryonic varieties. Okay, they are polyembryonic varieties and they are regarded to be regular bearers, whereas the North Indian varieties are what? The North Indian varieties are um, alternate bearers, and they are monoembryonic. Okay, so this is another information that I have given you. Again, another very important part, whenever you talk about alternate bearer, you have to remember peclobutrazole. Okay, so that is the remedy that we'll go for soil application of peclobutrazole at the rate of 4 grams per tree in September. So then it helps in production of good yield. Okay, so what are the things that you will remember in case of alternate bearers? On and off year. 1 year there will be heavy fruit, and the next year there won't be fruits, or there will be very little fruits in the tree. Okay, so that is one thing, on and off year. Second thing that you will see in case of alternate bearers is that the North Indian varieties are alternate bearers, like the Sherry Langra Chosa. Third is that genetical factors are responsible. Fourth is what? That spraying of peclobutrazole would help in mitigating this disorder. Okay. Next disorder is a spongy tissue. Again, you have heard about the spongy tissue very now and then, isn't it? That mostly it affects the Alfonso. Okay, so this is the picture you can say for spongy tissue wherein the pulp fails to ripen. Okay, then what is the cause? Enzymatic inactivity. Okay, enzymatic inactivity which arises due to high temperature leads to this failure of the pulp to ripen. All right. So what we can do is that we can go for use of mulch, okay, because that will help to regulate the temperature. And we can expose the fruits to low temperature of 10 to 15 degrees centigrade for about certain hours after harvest, so that high temperature injury is being prevented. Okay, right. Next, we'll talk about the last two disorders in case of mango. One is your clustering or jhumka. Okay, so sometimes they may just mention what is jhumka in mango. So you'll have to understand it's a physiological disorder, clustering. Here, the fruitlets develop in clusters at the tip of the panicle. This one, you see, at the tip of the panicle, the fruits have developed in clustered, and they will remain in this stage. That is the pea stage or marble stage only. They won't grow further. Okay, so finally the fruits would fall off after a month of fruit set. So what are the probable reasons? That is absence of optimum number of pollinators, old and overgrowing trees. Okay, so these things we need to avoid. So since you see there is absence of optimum number of pollinators, so what will be the remedy? Introduction of beehives in the orchard. Okay, and spraying of NAA during October, November also helps to increase the fruit set. So that is one important thing. So what you have to remember in clustering or jhumka, that is first thing here, jhumka is a disorder of mango. Here in the tip of the panicle, the fruits will develop in clusters and they will remain in the pea or marble stage only. They won't grow any further. Okay. And what is the causes in here? Absence of optimal number of pollinators. So because of that, what we can go remedy, that is introduction of beehives in orchards. Okay. Right. Next, another thing is your fruit drop of mango. Okay. So fruit drop of mango, usually the fruit drop is in 3 stages. Okay. One is your pinhead stage. One is your post setting stage. The spelling is wrong in here. Then next one is your May month drop. Okay. Out of this May month drop is the most severe form of fruit drop because it will directly affect the yield of the crop. Okay. If you have mango trees in and near you, you can see that fruits drop now and then, isn't it? So why, if the fruits drop immaturely, okay, in this May month only, then it will severely affect the yield of the crop, isn't it? So in that way, you can relate the thing, and then you will never forget about this May month. Okay, May month, you'll never forget. Just try to recall the mango trees in and around you. Okay, and you will see that now and then the fruits drop, isn't it? So if the fruits drop in immature stage, there will be no yield of the crop. So that is a problem in case of mango. Okay, so why is this a problem? You can see this June drop, sorry, May drop. Why you will see this problem? Because of embryo abortion. Okay, obviously in this May month you will see too much of weather abnormalities are there, isn't it? Weather temperature fluctuations, strong winds, heavy rainfall. So this is also one of the important factors which leads to fruit drop in mango. Okay, right. So next we will talk about the physiological disorders in case of banana. So two of the most important physiological disorders in banana is kota vajai and neer vajai. Okay, so kota vajai, if you see, it is you can just remember two words in order to remember these two physiological disorders. One is when we talk about kota vajai, so you remember seed banana. Okay, whenever we talk about kota vajai, just remember seed banana. Then when we talk about neer vajai, just remember water banana. Okay, even neer translates to water only, right? So just remember these two terms, then you will never forget what are these symptoms. So in case of kota vajai, what happens? The ill-filled fruits, okay, they will have an under developed seed-like structure in the center of the fruit. This one, you see, underdeveloped seed-like structures are there in the center of the fruit. Okay, so that is your kota vajai. And neer vajai, what you will see that it is the disorders, you will see that fruitless bunches are there, and the bunches also have 4 to 5 hands, plus whatever malformed fruits are formed, they are characterized by the presence of watery fluid. Okay, so these are the two disorders in case of banana. Okay, now why it happens? If you see kota vajai, the causes of kota vajai, that geological factors, then we have environmental factors, hormonal imbalances. Okay, so that is the reasons for kota vajai. Neer vajai reasons are what? Imbalance of hormone, which influences the female flower development. That is why there are fruitless bunch, isn't it? So these are the two disorders in case of banana. Next two disorders of banana is hard lump and choke throat. Hard lump, again, very important factor in here that you need to remember is a Rasthali variety. Okay, hard lump. Rasthali variety is mostly affected by hard lump. Okay, and why hard lump appears? That is low temperature during fruit development. Okay, so if there is low temperature, excessive low temperature during fruit development, then what will happen? Then there will be lumps in the fruit. The lumps will be pinkish brown in color. They will be less luscious and firmer than the normal fruit pulp. Okay. And if we eat those hard lump, then it feels like immature unripe fruit. Okay. So that is why we need to go for adjusting the time of planting so that during fruit development, too much of low temperature means the fruits are not exposed to low temperature. So we need to take care of the time of planting. Okay. Next physiological disorder of banana is your choke throat. So in case of choke throat, what happens that the bunches, they fail to emerge from the top of the pseudostem. That is, the bunches become trapped and it becomes difficult for the bunch to come out of the top of the pseudostem. Okay, so in extreme cases, what happens? The bunch bursts out from the side of the pseudostem, as you can see in this picture, right? This is the pseudostem. Okay, so bunch has come out by bursting the pseudostem only. Yeah, this is the bunch का जो वो stem होता है. This is the thing. You see, it is completely malformed, right? So this is your choke throat. It has been choked, right? What are the causes of choke throat? Environmental factors, waterlogging, severe water stress. So again, we need to go for time of managing the time of planting, choosing the less susceptible varieties. Drainage facilities should be available in order to prevent this choke throat. Okay, so अब जब picture देख लिया choke throat का, कभी भूलोगे? नहीं भूलोगे, है ना? तो just try to remember the pictures, then you will never forget. Okay, all right. So this is all about your banana physiological disorders. We have seen kota vajai, seed banana, neer vajai, water banana, hard lump, Rasthali variety is most affected, and choke throat, wherein the bunches fail to emerge or are trapped. Okay. Next, we'll talk about the physiological disorders of grapes. Okay, two of the most important physiological disorder of grapes. One is your hen and chicken disorder. Other one is your pink berry formation. Okay, so here you can say in case of hen and chicken disorder, why the name hen and chicken? Chick. Okay, why the name hen and chick? Hen matlab, you can say normal sized berries. Okay, and chick matlab, you will see that it is seedless smaller seedless berries. Okay, so that represents the chick. So in the same bunch, okay, in the same bunch of grapes, some fruits will be normal sized, okay, whereas some will be small and seedless. So that is why this normal size ones are hen, smaller ones are chick. Okay, Why this disorder, or what is the reason behind this disorder? Boron deficiency. And this is a very favorite question for IBPS. Okay, boron deficiency, hen and chick disorder. So what we will do, since boron deficiency, so remedy will be 0.2% spraying of 0.2% boric acid. Okay. Then if you talk about pink berry formation, so Thompson seedless and the clone Ganesh are more susceptible to this pink berry formation. What happens that the berries will develop a pink tinge, okay, and in the extreme stages, what will happen that this pink tinge will develop into dark color lesions, okay, and the berries turn watery and rot. Okay, so I'll just show you the picture. This one, you see, hen and chicken disorder, hen and chick disorder. That certain, these are the hen, okay, the normal berries, these are the hen, and the chick are the small ones. Whereas pink berry formation, here you see in the normal berries, some pink color berries are there. These berries ultimately they will turn black in color and they will rot. Okay, so these are the two most important grapes disorder. Hen and chicken is due to boron deficiency, whereas pink berry formation is delayed pollination and fertilization. Okay, so and also another reason is inadequate flow of carbohydrate. Next, we'll talk about citrus. So again, here are the two most important physiological disorders of citrus, granulation and exanthema. So granulation, what happens, the juice sacs of the fruits are affected. Okay, so just remember, try to remember which part of the fruit is affected. So this is the one. Okay, juice sacs of the fruit is affected. It becomes hard, dry, enlarged. Okay, and the fruit, it becomes gray colored with reduced juice content. Now, since the juice sac is affected, automatically the juice content will be reduced. Okay, what is the reason? Again, although exact reason is not known, but again, a complexity of reason are responsible, like environmental, nutritional, hormonal factors. Okay. So what we will go for the remedy, moderately vigorous rootstocks are preferred. Healthy vigorous rootstocks are not preferred. Moderately vigorous rootstocks are preferred. Proper fertilization and irrigation facilities should be provided. Then if you talk about exanthema, so here you will see that the typical symptom of gummosis, like exudation of gum and resin, appears from the rind of the fruit. Okay. Now, the gummosis which is responsible, the gummosis which is caused by pathogenic gummosis. So that appears, you will see in case of the branches, okay? The branches, from the branches of the citrus fruit, you will get the gum oozing out, okay? That is the typical symptom of gummosis which is caused by pathogenic organisms. Okay, pathogenic organisms. But if you talk about exanthema, the thing is that the symptom of gummosis, that means gum exudation. Symptom of gummosis is nothing but the gum exudation. But here the gum exudation is from the rind of the fruit or the central pith of the fruit, not from the bark or from the trunk. Okay, so this is the two difference between gummosis, which is caused by pathogen, and exanthema. From both, in both the cases, there will be exudation of gum. But in exanthema, it will be the exudation of gum from the rind of the fruit or central pith of the fruit. That is, it is associated, exanthema is associated with fruit. Whereas if you see in case of gummosis, which is pathogenic gummosis, what you will see that there will be what? The gum exudation will come out from the trunk, okay, from the branches, all these things. So that's where you can find out the difference between gummosis and exanthema. I hope it is clear now. Next, we'll go for apple. So again, in apple, if you see, the two most important physiological disorders of apple is your first one, bitter pit. Okay, again, there was a PYQ in NABARD regarding bitter pit. Okay, and next in apple is apple scald. Now, bitter pit is due to the deficiency of calcium. Okay, bitter pit, what happens? There are some small brown lesions that will develop on the flesh of the fruit, and underneath this brown spots, the skin, underneath the skin, even the tissues will become what? Brown, and they become scorky. Later on, these spots appear as water-soaked spots on the skin. Okay. Usually, young trees are more affected in case of bitter pit. Young trees and immature fruits are more affected. Then if you see about Apple scald, there are brown patches of dead skin of irregular shape. See, here also brown patches, here is brown lesions. That means here what you will see, small, small brown lesions will develop. But here in case of apple scald, there will be what? There will be no irregular shape. There will be just irregular brown patches onto the skin of the fruit. Okay. So here another important thing in case of apple scald, that it is a storage disorder. Okay, it is a storage disorder. Therefore, cause you see hot, dry weather before harvest. Then we have harvesting of immature fruits, inappropriate storage condition. Okay, so this is important that apple scald is what? It is a storage disorder. Okay, the differences between bitter peat and apple scald, I think it's clear. Visual difference is what? That is, there will be small brown lesions in bitter peat, and in apple scald, there will be brown patches of dead skin. Okay. And bitter peat is due to calcium deficiency. Apple scald is mainly a storage disorder and also because of high temperature. So in the next figure, if you see, this will be very clear, right? This is your bitter peat and this is your apple scald. In bitter peat, you will see this is the small lesions which are developed. Whereas in case of apple scald, irregular dead patches will come up into the fruits. Okay. Another important thing in case of apple scald that, sorry, here you can see that another important thing in case of bitter peat is that young trees and immature fruits are more affected. Okay, so this is all about today's physiological disorders in fruit crops. I hope everything is clear to you. Go through the session once again, read the data that I have put into. Important things to note about the susceptible varieties, the reasons are very important. Okay, and try to pick out the important key points from the symptoms. Okay, only if you remember 1 to 2 points, it will be enough. So that's all for today. Keep studying and put your effort, 100% effort, okay? Because small efforts will take you to your final success. So with that,